Welcome to the show, everybody, which is brought to you by Radio, courtesy of Ron over there, which rebroadcasts us every Wednesday at 11 p.m. Kurt, thank you to Ron for that. Make sure you go to Mixlr.com and set up your account there and like Radio, that's ERRT Radio, and follow them, and then you can re-listen to our show as well as the other lineups that he has in there. So definitely go Radio, proud sponsor of this. So we have got returning guest with us, Jack Cary. He has come back. We had him on, I want to say it was about 4 months ago, maybe just a little bit past there, and we made some predictions. So this is just kind of a follow-up to see, because this is one of the ones was that something big would be happening on today's date. So did it happen? Has it happening? Is it currently happening? Are we in the Matrix? I mean, a lot of these questions, but most of the one is just kind of, I wanted to follow up, especially like the computer models, the ones that you're using the predictions, like see what's currently going on. And we're just going to kind of talk about new events and stuff going on. So sit back, relax, enjoy, let us entertain you, and we will be back after this intro right now. Welcome to the Three Beards podcast. My name is Craig, along with Austin and Chris.
Passed to a new generation of Americans born in this century.
Let me out.
I'm afraid that is right.
Justice and honor in Massachusetts colony?
All right, we're back. So once again, kind of letting everybody know, the 24th special show. Everybody's going to want to make sure you're here for that one. If you've been a long time listener to the show, you're going to want to definitely be here for that one. So that's big.
On a little hint, somebody is transitioning, and it ain't me.
Yes.
What's up, MA?
Yes, it's what others say. So definitely tune in for that one. But everybody, like I said, welcome back. I said there's been a lot of stuff going on, especially in the last couple of weeks. There's a lot of people concerned. There's a lot of other people that are just looking forward to the light show, the stuff that's coming up with the eclipse and everything. I'm in the camp of, it's just going to be a really cool celestial event. We're just going to get to see sun and the moon line up, and then they're going to go their separate ways again until like a few days later when they decide to cross paths again and give us another show.
That could be it.
Yeah, well, thank you. Yeah, it's definitely getting a lot more of that salt color, right? Especially right there. It's getting a lot wider. So that's, yeah. But okay, welcome back, Jack. Welcome back to the show, sir. How are you?
I am well.
Good, thank you. It's taking a moment.
Yeah. So catch us up. What have you been up to these last 4 months?
Oh my God. Well, I've done a paranormal convention where I did an hour-long speech on advanced paranormal theory. And I've been doing forays into the southeastern Ozark Mountains, right on the border of Oklahoma and Arkansas and Louisiana, basically, in an attempt to document further evidence of the Bigfoot species. So
it's a great area.
Yeah.
So how's that been going?
It's actually been going pretty good. It is we've made a lot of headway into finding the areas that have historically had a lot of activity taking place, and we're basically establishing camps in these different areas, and we hope over the course of the next year or two to make a lot of headway.
So is the plan to plot out those historical locations with the history and then visit each one of them for a bit?
Right, because it's our belief that they are migratory in nature, and whenever you have a spate of sightings, you can almost bet that if you return to that same location at the same date and time, if possible, you'll have other activity taking place at that same time and place. So
That's great. I wish more people would do things to this degree. Did you correlate the path of migration or the hunting path? You know how like a wolf has usually 150-mile radius of hunting. Did you correlate or kind of get the radius from point A to point B where the other sighting is and figure that out and then figure out the other ones and kind of pinpoint?
yeah, well, we know how far they are from each other, obviously, the sightings, and we know the date differences. And we've noticed that there is a pattern, like when you have seasonal changes taking places, you typically have larger amounts of interactivity taking place. So we know from the seasonal changes and the fact that there's more activity being recorded during those seasonal changes that they're actually on the move. And from that, we're able to kind of, look at maps, and you can tell from where civilization is and where it's not, where the primary spots are going to be for you to go and check out. So
It's a bold task. I was supposed to go, I think a week ago, to the west coast of the state of Florida. Unfortunately, they had like 50+ mile-an-hour winds and tornado warnings and rain, and it would have been, I would have gone, but and I've driven through 3 tornadoes, which is always fun. But I never would have heard the end of it.
oh yeah,
from my kids and my wife, and she would have been like, "Are you out of your mind?" And I'm like, "What? We've driven through 3 of them." It's like, why
And yes,
not?
that is a Godzilla shirt.
Yes, Godzilla.
uh,
Oh no,
Yeah.
Godzilla. But when you go in there, what's your team like? Is it minimal? Is it just, because I've seen some of your videos. Are you solo? Are you with like one other for protective purposes? And do
Should always
you
have 2.
carry or
I've gone solo a few times and had a few horrifying experiences, so I don't do that anymore.
It's like you should always go at least with a buddy.
Too. I've got a primary research assistant that's an ex-Marine that goes with me.
Oh, that's good.
And yes, we're always armed in the woods. My mentor, who was J.C. Johnson, the famous cryptozoologist, taught me rule number 1 is you never go into the woods unarmed, ever.
Amen, brother.
No reason to, and you are at the bottom of the food chain in those areas. So
yeah.
I when I get up to New York, I'm not licensed for New York. And to try to go through those hoops is impossible. And some of our places are actually on federal land, which are public, but it's still federal property. And you go on that with a firearm, and you're looking at a mandatory, I think, 1 or 2 years. But it straddles the Appalachian Trail, so there's kind of a gray area. But I don't have enough money for good lawyers to get out of the gray area.
Right.
But down here or any place in South where there's reciprocity, I would be packing, and not only a firearm, but a lot of machetes. I always use a lot of machetes in the front, back, side, just in case.
Right.
something that's in Florida there's this the Florida panther, which everybody's like, oh, it's endangered. I'm like, that sucker ain't endangered.
Right.
It's not. And actually my daughter saw one. And Craig, what do they call waterways in Florida, like the canals?
Yeah, I think that's usually what they're referred to as like a waterway. But
Well, we're not that far from her school. I mean, literally a couple miles, or a mile. And we were going down one of these boulevards, and she saw this she said it looked like a lion. And when she looked it up, because she's smart enough to look it up, he goes, yeah, it was a Florida panther. I mean, that's pretty damn close.
Right.
And of course, you get, oh, that's a big kitty.
yeah,
This is the last thing you want to see when you're in the woods, like you want to see a mountain lion, or you rather see a dog man. Mountain lion, dog man. I don't know.
yeah, I don't. No, it's one of those. It's one of those things. Like I was a Cub Scout leader for a long time. I told a lot of people that too. It's like you never go out in the woods alone. Always be prepared. That's the real thing. You're always prepared, but you never go out alone. A lot of people are like, I like to do it all the time. No, Cub Scouts.
Always
Cub
prepared.
Scouts. Yeah, the Boy Scouts. The Boy Scouts are this. Cub Scouts. Yeah,
Mhm.
it's the
one with a Girl Scout and always be prepared.
Yeah, it's one of those, you go out, because there's a lot of people like, no, I like going out in the woods alone. I'm like, just creatures, all stuff aside, too many things can happen. You could break your ankle, you could do a lot of stuff, and nobody's finding you. Because most people don't set out on a plot map and say, honey, I'm going to be going from this, traveling at a northwest direction at this thing. These are going to be my stop points. Nobody does that. You're going to go out there, and when you've got thousands and thousands of acres in this area that you're going to be going, guess what? The creatures are going to find your body before the search party does.
If you're lucky. And
Yeah.
Right now down in Florida, Jack, from now until I think May 1st, maybe, it's alligator mating season, and those suckers are mean.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Imagine.
So but like can you get into a little bit of some of the hairy stuff that you've experienced going solo, or you prefer not to? It's fine if you prefer not to.
No. When you're out there alone, solo, and you start hearing wood knocks around you from things that have to have hands, in order to do what they're doing. And when you're in a one-man tent at night and continually get pelted with pebbles all night long.
Yep.
On your tent, and then hear a howl and a growl, things like that. Those are pretty hair-raising events.
So you seem to be, Craig, I think, is an experienced woodsman as well as yourself, for being in, going out often.
Uh-huh.
Is there a distinction in the growl and the howl that says something about it's like, okay, kind of sounds like X, but this could easily be, it's like, it feels a little off from like an actual, like someone's mimicking. Can you just
Jack, take that one first? Like I said,
when I heard the howls, it was you might as well have been murdering a woman in the woods.
Oh yeah.
That's how horrifying the screams were. And when you hear the growl, it reverberates in your body. You can literally feel the vibration in your chest. So
been there, done that, but it's
there's times it's like there's some distinctive ones where you can know, but there's ones where, especially for somebody that doesn't go out all the time, it's really hard to distinguish a lot of times the movement of a bear, movement of a deer, elk, movement of mountain lion. It's just what it's going through the brush. Because like I said, a little squirrel and rabbit sounds like a 7-foot tall creature crashing through the woods in the middle of the night. And so when you hear stuff, there's a lot of people that'll freak out. And there's one, especially where we're from, squirrels like to throw stuff at you. So
right.
A lot of people will confuse that with, I'm being pelted by stones. Bigfoot's out there. No, there's a squirrel that's pissed off that you're near its tree and it's throwing pine cones at you. They'll actually go up, gnaw off a pine cone and chuck it at you. And so, like I said, there's no Bigfoot launching things at you. It's actually a squirrel. And if it's doing this stuff, I said, but you can, but like I said, one of the people that when you start doing it, it's just like anybody that studies animals. After a while, you can start to tell the difference between vocalizations of a different creature, like the sounds that they make. And so if you have somebody like that that's done those experiences, like I've said in the shows, I've never actually heard anything that I would ever attribute to Bigfoot, to something out of the ordinary. But that's why I said somebody that's been out there that's heard this thing, that can distinguish these things. But I've seen mountain lion, and you can feel something's there. But those things will make some blood curdling screams that
yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I was 25 years in the Rocky Mountains. I heard plenty of them, but there's a major difference between them and one of these creatures. And the one of the events that we had occur to us was on in northern New Mexico on it was a fly fishing ranch that had activity going on it, and we showed up there with the entire team. There was probably 6 of us, including Robert Kreider, who you guys probably know, the Bigfoot researcher Robert Kreider.
Name sounds familiar.
Yeah, he's well known in the Bigfoot community. But that night we kept hearing what sounded like conversation going on in the distance.
That's the freaky part, isn't it?
Oh, it was so weird. It was the weirdest thing, man. And it sounded like, and we knew there was nobody else around us because the owner gave us sole permission to be on the property at that time. So there was nobody else anywhere on this property. And later that night, we started a big bonfire. And all of a sudden, we started hearing cracking and rustling and stuff through the woods. And all of a sudden, rocks started getting thrown. And I had a rock hit just above I was standing with my back against a tree, and this rock hit the top of this just above my head at this tree. It must have been going 100 miles an hour. It sounded like a freaking firecracker going off, like above my head when it hit. It was amazing. I was like, that could have killed me, if it would have hit me the right way.
Exactly. And it could have killed you. That was a warning. When they get really vicious like that and they're thrown, like I'm talking about Bigfoots.
Oh, yeah.
When they get and they're really they can kill you in a split second. They've been doing this it's like innate in them. That's really get the hell out of here or I'm going to kill you. When they start throwing a couple of pebbles, kind of, we've been in situations where it's a little bit more playful. They want to see your reaction, but there's a big difference between, something that's, let's mess around with them or if they're doing that also, they may be warning you of other things. I just filled up a presentation and I don't know if this is it. Now, hopefully we can hear it, but if you want to hear vocalizations, there is a killer vocalization on this. And that's one of the typical for the Dogman-esque, but the one I'm looking at for right now is this one. If you just imagine being in the woods, Craig, and you'll hear this. I believe it's out of Ohio. Coming. Do you hear that?
Yeah, for me, like you said, it's like with my feeling on it, I would be more inclined to say it was somebody out there in the wood with their dog before I would be like a creature.
I'm going to be honest. That is not a dog. It gets more guttural, and then you were saying, Jack, it's almost like there's a communication, or I think Ron Moorhead's called it samurai chatter. But on the Dogman spectrum, it's as close to a werewolf Van Helsing horror film as you can get.
Yeah.
It's
tough to wrap my brain around the idea of Dogman. I'm like anybody else, you know what I mean? But,
let me tell you something. I thought we were jumping the shark when I heard this crap from one of the guys, I go out with up in New York, and I'm like, okay, you guys jumped the shark. Now we're talking about werewolves and whatever.
Yeah.
And then you get contacted by certain people, say, yeah, they're real. My job in the military is to go out. And I'm like, can I get you on record? Can I get a number? And like, what are you, out of your mind? I'm contacting you because of your conversations. When I used to do a show by myself, and when I bring my buddy Al on, and you get text messages, and then you have a one-on-one encounter with this thing.
Yeah, no, and it was skinwalkers at the Pentagon that really finally convinced me of the reality of the Dogman mystery, because there was no way that was faked. And the fact, have you heard about that encounter with the CIA agent's wife?
No, I've never heard this one.
Oh, okay. So Skinwalkers at the Pentagon, I think, is the most important paranormal book written in our lifetime. And it was written by Colm Kelleher, the guy who was the chief scientist at Skinwalker Ranch and later ran the program for the Pentagon's UFO program that was actually studying the paranormal aspects of the phenomenon. So they had the actual UFO program where they were studying the UAPs and UFOs, but they kept noticing that there was what they called the hitchhiker effect taking place with all of their UFO witnesses. So with all of them, would go home at the end of a day of studying UFOs only to have a wide array of other paranormal things taking place.
Right.
So
that should be the book, right? Is that the one you're talking about?
Yep. And and they couldn't explain that. And these were some of the world's best scientists that this was happening to. So, and they were like, well, what is going on? Because these people would go home after a day of studying the UAP phenomenon to have all of this other paranormal stuff take place, like, completely black subjects walking across their bedroom at night, ghost activity, poltergeist activity, material objects like materializing right in front of them and then dematerializing in front of them, so on and so forth. Well, one of the events that they equate as being part of this overall hitchhiker event or hitchhiker effect was a dogman encounter. And one of the highest ranking intelligence agents that was assigned to Skinwalker Ranch was at Skinwalker Ranch while his wife, 1,000 miles away in Virginia, has a dogman encounter at their actual property. Now, this is where things get really, really interesting. So he is having this encounter with UFO activity at Skinwalker Ranch, and his family way back in Virginia began experiencing a wide array of paranormal activity. One of these is a dogman encounter. And she goes to the sink on a Wednesday night to get a glass of water, and it's early in the morning, like 2-3 a.m. And she looks out across the property, and there is what she describes as being a dog-headed, upright, bipedal creature standing near a tree on their property. And she thinks she's crazy. And she doesn't say anything to anybody. And then the following Saturday morning at 10:30 in the morning, the two children of the family, which are teenagers, were in the game room of the house. They notice movement at the window of the game room, only to look up and see this same creature staring in at them in broad daylight, mid-morning on a Saturday. They get up and run to the window, only to see this thing running off, and it was kicking up leaves as it went. This was a physical creature of some kind, right? And they report all of this back to their father, obviously, who is involved with all of this other research going on of people going home and having all of this paranormal activity take place. And where things get really weird is that they discovered is that it has a virus-like effect. So, and I call it the paranormal virus. So as soon as that happened, these children's friends and neighbors and their relatives all began experiencing paranormal activity.
What's extremely interesting about the whole dogman phenomenon, right, is that there are dozens upon dozens of interviews of people who see this creature. They're even in the car. Something that comes up, the yellow eyes, they're like, "What the hell is this?" And they communicate to them telepathically. A lot of people are talking about communicating telepathically, and they just get this fear. They just get this notion in their head. There's another story about a guy that goes out hunting, comes up upon a dogman, and the dogman basically supposedly told him, "Don't do it. Go. You need to go." He defended himself with a shotgun, a rifle, killed whatever it was in the process of fleeing, drove almost 200 miles back, and within 12 hours, there were 4 dogmen, he said, that came to his house and ripped almost killed him.
Wow.
And it's really weird. I guess we have a lot of people here that watch Star Trek, okay? Even Next Generation. They had we're the Q, we're the collective. It seems with this cryptid and some of them that are interdimensional, I think even some of the black-eyed kids and the shadow people, it's like they have one source of information and they all draw from it. They all know it. So if something happens to you, Jack, and we're part of the collective, Craig and I will feel it and know it. We know everything about it. It is the weirdest thing I've ever heard of and seen, taking place. Do you think there's something there?
Well, I've thought of so much about that. That's all I ever think about, really, is because yeah,
guilty.
Well, because of the research done by these world-class scientists and is ongoing, Dr. Gary Nolan, chief among them at Stanford, University. There, to me, it seems to be pointing in the direction that there is a singular source, and I wrote about this in my book, Paranormal Planet, a singular source for all of this paranormal activity. And that source, whatever it is, appears to have a shape-shifting capability to be able to actually embody all of these different types of paranormal activity. Now, for what reason, I don't know. But it appears as though because of the hitchhiker effect, it's all originating from a singular source. And that source somehow is able to interconnect on a subatomic level with the observer of the phenomenon itself and be able to perpetuate that phenomenon thereafter in some sort of, symbiotic relationship.
I've heard a couple other researchers or the commentary from some individuals that do research in the field that part of what people are saying, like Rosemary Ellen Guiley, who was a friend of mine, had private conversations with her. And we were debating, like, where is this stuff coming from? Is it the ether, which, my buddy Ron Murphy nicknamed the Goblin Universe? It's that space between, heaven, hell, earth, and where all this crazy stuff happens. And what role is that? And also, what role is it from other entities that were formerly here, or they still are here, like the jinn? What role are they playing in this? Where, like, when you said there's a force that can morph into this and can be whatever you want, prey on your subconscious in a fear, like for some people it could be like, oh my God, that's my mother-in-law, run. It could be that. It could be, it could be something
Yeah.
even more hideous. And then what role of this is why, I used to be a flesh and blood guy in a lot of this stuff. But after on investigation, real time in the field, having, something go from here to here, which is 2 miles away in a split second, the only way that can happen is if you literally can create a portal and change your form and everything, go in it and come out where you want. It has to be quantitative.
Yeah. And, one of the major problems for me in paranormal research is the fact that these guys that are I think some of the smartest people on the planet, and are, in my mind, after watching them on 100 different interviews and hearing every word they have to say, are being as profoundly honest as they can with their understanding of the phenomenon, which are the scientists that are now involved with it. Like I stated, Dr. Gary Nolan's probably chief among them. But
right,
the fact that they make the statement that until they can understand the underlying paranormal aspect of the UFO phenomenon, they'll never be able to understand the entirety of the phenomenon itself. That's how interrelated paranormal activity is with the UFO phenomenon itself.
It's really interesting that they say that, and this is something, doing what you do. I go out in the field a lot. I research. I try to go. It's hard to research down here because I don't want to put my kids into a situation. Some of them would go. I'm like, no, it's not a joke. It's not. It could be very dangerous. I took her to a couple of my CE5 presentations where we bring in craft, and she was blown away. Like, that was a UFO. I'm like, yeah, it is. And I had other researchers there that were like, holy crap. But when you get into some of this stuff, it's hard to research it properly. But I've come up with techniques, and I'll just give you, it's sound, frequency, vibration, and resonance. It's a general, I know it's a general. I'm not going to tell you exactly how it is, but and I'm not doing this to pat myself on the back, but when I interviewed for a spot on alien invasion Hudson Valley, I remember talking to Mark, the producer. I'm like, Mark, I have a technique we use, and I told him what it is, and basically I didn't give away the kitchen sink, but I said, I promise you, I'm bringing in craft that night. When we do this, I'm going to bring in craft. There's going to be some strange stuff that happens, but you'll get craft. And he was like, yeah, I've heard this before. And that night we went out with Mark D'Antonio, who's a friend of mine, Ben Hansen, Melissa Title. The producer was there. A new director named Layla was there, but she spells it on the Arabic Layla, not like, Layla, I've got me on my knees type of thing. Derek and the Dominoes, right?
Right.
And we start ramping up with sound, frequency, and vibration. And these total sentient beings, light being in their craft, they start coming down, and they're curious, and they're coming over, and they're peeking. And when we get closer, they back away. And then another one comes, and Mark D'Antonio is like, what, I was very happy. He has still to this day, he doesn't know what it was. So if you can if you get things done with Mark, and Ben Hansen was there, and Ben's wife called, who is pregnant, and he's like, honey, I gotta go. I'm filming right now, because he was capturing these light beings on a psionic camera, and his night vision, like military grade night vision. But one of the greatest things was I started using an ovilus, or I like to call it phonetic generator. I am so tired of the the SBC. I don't like the noise.
Right.
It really does interfere, because there's some of these creatures are so subtle that you can't have that crap going on, and it's a joke. And the first thing out of that phonetic generator, and it says Layla.
Oh wow.
And the guy says, what did it say? And I said, it said Layla. It said your name. And she flipped out. She bugged the hell out. So there's something, you've gotten something that's triggering that 70,000 words in there. I can't manipulate it. And we do it on airplane mode. So there's, no, shut the Wi-Fi off, all of it. So there's nothing hopefully triggering. You're having these craft come in after we do it, and every time we've done it, and I've done it, I bring stuff in. So there is something there that connects ghosts, spirits, Bigfoot, Dogman, UFOs, aliens, I mean, if we can figure this out, it could be worth millions of dollars, Jack.
Oh yeah, no, and
And a lot of answered questions.
I focus on the fact that there are different portal areas around the world where this activity is enhanced, it's magnified to a huge degree. And those magnifications occur simultaneously with huge electromagnetic waveforms that are being generated from the topography of the planet itself. So that's why I call it a paranormal planet. And
oh yeah,
I even speculate that maybe we're inhabiting a planet with a non-carbon-based life form of some kind that I call the crystal entity, that's generated through quartz crystal, which you find in huge deposits in these different areas where all of this heightened paranormal activity takes place. And that this consciousness that's living within these huge quartz crystal deposits, it's able to actually generate these different waveforms and manifest these different things. For what end, I don't know, but all of the elements are there.
Something I do know is we've got to get Tommy Boy up there in the corner from Callahan Auto.
Oh yeah.
Craig, I mean, because Craig, you're coming from
Somebody
like
got
this who, what, where, when, and why, and scientific and Occam's razor, and I've been trying to. I mean, we have difference of opinions, and it's fine. And I get frustrated at times. I'm sure you get frustrated, but it's like I can't explain what I've experienced. You have to experience it. So I have to grab you and go where you're going.
Well, yeah, I think the biggest thing we have is just like not everything is paranormal. Not everything is supernatural. Everything you see that doesn't have a supernatural sign, most things can be scientifically explained. I go, the things that can't, that's what you focus on. Just because a blade of grass blew by your face doesn't mean a fairy was transporting it. And this was, some spiritual being that moved the leaf in front of you. That's what I said. It's like, there has to be something. Most likely it was, guess what? It's windy today. That's why the leaves are blowing. And that's why I said, that's where I have to distinguish. I go, if you believe everything has a supernatural, essence behind it, you will always have that confirmation bias. You always will. You have to be able to distinguish scientifically what you can throw aside, because that makes what isn't explainable that much cooler.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That's what it is. I mean, it just, you can't. I mean, it's just like people that look in their night vision thing and they see things floating by. Guess what? That's dust. That's bugs. Every now and then you'll get that one thing that doesn't do like it's supposed to. It goes against the wind. That's something. But if you believe every little light that goes by is a supernatural being, it's like at that point, it's like you have to have a grounding. There's like science. You have to have a basis to do your experiments off of. You have to.
I agree with you. I mean, it's, and that's why that's how I operate. I mean, I would say
you're more towards the woo side than.
Well, I've seen some shit. Okay.
Well, I don't, but it's that's why I said it's just you're more inclined to, like, if you saw something blow by, it's like there's something supernatural behind it. I'm like, yeah. Is it windy? It has to. There, most likely, there's some reason that tree was moving, and it was probably the wind.
No, I'm going more than that, because I did study physics, and on the cusp of string theory and quantum, I studied astronomy. I was going to be an astrophysicist. I studied the scientists. I've studied engineering, and and when I go into something and I have an experience A and X, Y, and Z are there, I'm like, okay, write it down, make notes of it. And then you go into another experience and it's similar to the experience, and X, Y, and Z are there. There are certain patterns that are not going to break. So when I get into what you would call the woo side of it, there's years and decades of my own research going there. You know what? This whole entire subject for the most part. Correct me if I'm wrong, Jack. It's all hypothesis baked. It's all conjecture. We don't have a ghost locked up in a bottle that we can
Oh,
say,
yeah.
"See if this hurts," or
Yeah.
tell me and the Bigfoot where he touched you. I mean, we don't have this as general public.
No. I think the best you can do is to really keep an open mind for new data that's coming in. Really, the reason why we don't have sufficient answers to these different mysteries is a lack of data. But that data is continually coming in, and there in the last couple of years, there's been an enormous amount of data that's been collected on the idea of understanding what paranormal really is and what it means and its relationship to potential ET activity. And that it's been put out by a lot of really world-class minds. These are people that like Jacques Vallée and Colm Kelleher and Dr. Nolan and a whole bunch of others have come forward and actually published on. And I believe that they're being honest in their efforts at trying to understand what's going on. But the whole thing is that the hitchhiker effect was traced all the way back to the Trinity event, which is fascinating to me because that's the very first UFO phenomenon that we've ever been able to actually document. And that was done in Jacques Vallée's new book, Trinity. But as far back as that, they were having hitchhiker effect paranormal phenomenon take place, which is just really fascinating to me.
Yeah, I think because I'd like to do one of those events with it, like see just there. But that's the first thing is like after I take that event, I'm going to want to know, was there any, military activity? Like I said, I'm going to go through all that stuff. Once I can discount all that stuff, then I'll be like, okay, this light's not, you can't explain this.
Right.
There was no military. That I said that would be mine. I mean, it's like I can't shut that part off. I'm like, I see a light there. My first instinct is not that's a UFO. It's going to be like, no.
No, absolutely.
Was SpaceX launching something at this point? I'm going to go through all the things. I'm going to go through all those things before at any point I'm going to be like, holy crap, I just saw a UFO. Because I want to see one bad. I mean, I have this thing right behind me.
Yeah.
It's like I want to see one, but there's so many things.
I filmed one time, and I can tell you, when I filmed it, I thought it was, and convinced for years that this was a nuts and bolts type of technology. And I'm not convinced entirely that it's not. I don't quite understand the interrelationship between paranormal activity and the UFO phenomenon. I don't think anybody does. And it's going to, that is the cutting edge of paranormal research right now. Yep. Where does that relationship end? Where does it begin? And what does it mean in the middle? And there's Oklahoma Nana. Nice. I live in Oklahoma, Nana. So
she's great.
That's fantastic. So, and I'm not willing to discount the research done with millions of dollars in funding and all of that done by the scientists who wrote Skinwalkers at the Pentagon and who were at Skinwalker Ranch from the get-go with Bigelow. Those guys, I think, are telling the truth, and what they're describing is a phenomenon that has the ability to shapeshift. It has the ability to take on different forms as needed to accomplish some goal that we as yet do not quite understand.
Yeah,
Jaron, that is one of the things too. There's a lot of people, they see stuff and they have UFO experiences, and it's like no matter how many times you try to tell them that string that you saw flying over your head was Starlink, they won't believe you. And that's kind of the thing. Is that you have people, you go out there, I saw UFOs. No, you didn't.
No, it's Starlink.
I go, you saw Starlink. You saw SpaceX launching a rocket. They launch them all the time from California, Texas, from Florida, all the time. They just had one where they tried to launch 3 rockets in the same night. Sure. They ended up getting 2 off. Like I said, people saw I saw my feed all the time. People were films. Oh my God, I saw a UFO and they're showing this orange ball, flickering. I'm like, that's the Raptor engines. I go, those are the Merlin engines off of you filmed the butt end of a SpaceX rocket launch. That's all it was. It was a SpaceX launch. I'm like, I can show you the trajectory.
Right.
Oh yeah, it's on. You can see it on the internet.
Yeah, you see them as soon as they launch. You're like, UFO reports go crazy coming out of the east coast of Florida. You're like, SpaceX people.
Oh, we see them all. I see it all the time. I got to be honest. I've always been a space nerd when it comes to. I used to write to NASA when we were little, and I'm going up 441 East Coast, and there's this. It's a rocket launch, and I'm like, holy crap! I've waited my lifetime to see it, and everybody's pulling over. You see it drop, the boosters, and then they start doing their own thing, and you're like, wait a minute. And one of the first things I do as a researcher and investigator is I go right to the source, like SpaceX launches, and if I see one, I know what we're talking about. We're not looking at UFOs. I also look for. I have a satellite app that tells me when there are military grade satellites coming over and the timing, no matter where you are.
Well, if it's just a distant light that's so far off that I can't really make out what it is, I'll just assume it's not an alien craft. But when you see something that's in one of the best advanced hand cameras that you can get at the time with the Carl Zeiss lens and night vision capability, and it begins to shape shift and it's not moving. It's staying stationary and twisting around and beginning to shift into these different forms and shapes, but looks metallic at the same time. That's what I filmed. I couldn't believe it. And there were 3 of them. And this was over the foothills of Denver. And, it was 3 a.m. in the morning. And I had gone to get a glass of water at the sink and looked up to see these 3 lights, really bright lights. And I thought, these are helicopters. They're going to come flying over any minute.
Right.
I'm going to hear them. And they just never did. So it was like, oh my God, this is really weird. So I grabbed my camera and went outside to the backyard and began to film these things. And I couldn't believe it either. You're standing there filming them and you're thinking to yourself, no way I'm filming an actual UFO. It couldn't possibly happen.
Yeah.
I've had that.
That'd be awesome.
I've had 2 sightings in December, one that came over my house. To the point where I have, an A6 Sony, and that records pretty well. But what I usually have is a stupid freaking phone. I'm trying to get like a Google or whatever, because there's something about the Samsung and the Google in their imagery. They capture exactly what you're saying. I don't understand why Apple has not even just updated their thing to capture. Like, I can see the moon with my naked eye and some of the craters and details of it. You try to take an iPhone picture of it, and it's like this.
It's a blurry star.
Well,
it's like,
But if my wife had her Samsung phone, it looked just exactly like what I saw, and you can zoom in. And how difficult is it, right? But when I see something, and case in point, a bunch of years ago, I have it on our New York State UFO Project YouTube channel. I'll probably try to bring it to the channel that I'm using now, which is just me. My kids were practicing for softball, and I'm in Van Cortlandt Park, New York City, and I see this thing with my naked eye, and I'm like, that's weird. And initially, I thought it was a drone, and it wasn't. And I filmed this thing for about 5 minutes, and I just kept filming and filming, and I was talking. You can hear me talking because I did a presentation. We used to have a upstate New York meeting, a live meeting for people like grassroots, like, come in, we discuss this. It's a safe zone for you. No one's going to make fun of you. We bring in special guests, and we used to do it in the city. And when I took this video and I'm watching it in normal speed, there's one part you see this thing changes its shape. It morphs into from like a triangle into like something that looks like, it like as if you took a triangle and you bent the corners and then it morphs into some other. I'm like, what the hell's going on?
Right.
And there's one scene where you see it on videotape and you see something that looks like a bug. So what I do is I upload my video to my computer and I'm using Premiere Pro, and I get to that part, I go back and I go frame by frame. And that little bug wasn't a bug. It seemed to be another craft that had like a bay like this, like you would fly into, like Battlestar Galactica. And I'm like, holy crap. That's why, like, do you take your video and then slow it down and frame by frame by frame just to see?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
As much as you can, because it's the frame by frame that really reveals what's happening. It's so weird because some of this phenomenon seems to vibrate at a rate outside of the frame rate of our technology.
Oh yeah.
So, and you're like, how can that happen? Is that by design? It's so weird. How can they design technology so specifically to get past ours?
There's always this talk about vibration and frequency, and when you vibrate at a higher frequency, you're made aware of other things that are vibrating at a different frequency, and the lower frequencies just don't affect anymore. I don't know. Maybe there's something in that time frame or that space. Like right now, if we had a filter, I'm sure eventually we'll have one, and they're watching this video, let's say 100 years from now, like, oh, put that filter on this video. There could be a bunch of entities in each one of our rooms, like, hi, how are you?
Oh, I know, right? Yeah.
Right. It would be great. Like Craig, who's like, I need proof. Meanwhile, there's somebody behind him like this. No one's of the years. You're like, you need proof.
That's right.
Yeah.
No, we got sorry, 52 minutes. We haven't even really gotten to the prediction part yet.
Go to the prediction.
It's almost 8 o'clock. I almost have to go here, guys.
Yeah, that's right. Real quick. So last one, how have you noticed anything? Because it was predicted that you were saying somewhere around April 3rd that we would have aliens would make themselves known.
Yeah, that was put out by Cliff High at the Webbot, and April's coming. There's going to be a big event take place at some point here where it's going to become undeniable that actual space aliens, not interdimensional.
Yeah. Right.
Not part of the whole paranormal thing, but there's supposed to be an event take place according to the Webbot where humanity can no longer kind of deny the reality of it.
Brian, you said something by the 15th, right?
Yeah,
I'm actually concerned. I heard about Cliff, but I, through my meditations and seeing what I see during the meditation, I was concerned from March 25th. It was originally to April, like not 12th, but I'm pushing that to April 15th. Something doesn't feel right. Something's going to happen. And I'm not saying it's necessarily the eclipse and all the BS going on. I just don't feel right about it. I can't put my finger on it. I'm not trying to avoid any predictions. I just think there's going to be something major, like major.
Yeah, there's something.
He's not hedging his bets, people. He's not hedging his bets.
No,
there's something big. There's something big building that's about to happen. That's going to be. It's going to be.
Yeah, worse than this Taiwan earthquake.
Oh yeah,
that's pretty big, man.
Well, it was big, but that's been building. The Ring of Fire has been active for the last few years. I mean, it's just been a matter of time before one hits that part because, like I said, it just seems to just kind of jump from point to point. I mean, Alaska just had one a couple of years ago, had a pretty big one in the Aleutian Islands, and then that triggered. I think it was the same way. I want to say, I'd have to somebody correct me if I'm wrong. I want to say that was somewhere close to like an 8. I said there in the Aleutian Islands, and that was. I said it's the Ring of Fire has been active for a while.
Oh yeah.
There's talk about Planet X, and it's making its appearance and preying on our poles.
Oh, that was the other thing. You said Planet X would show up by the second.
I said it was okay. I still believe Planet X is coming. I'm not
But
kidding.
it's not here.
It may very well be here because there are people, average everyday people, that go out and they take these videos, and there's 3 suns there, and it's not the camera, a camera effect or a pareidolia effect. It is 3 suns. They've proved it. There are NASA photos where you'll see the sun, and there is an object that's coming up. They know the trajectory of it. They know its path. It's been proven. But I think you'll be seeing it with your naked eye. Yeah, I'm still standing firm. March 25th to April 15th. And I hope I'm fucking wrong. I really
Have you ever heard the theory that the moon is potentially that Planet X? Because that's always been rumored that the moon, because there's the tribes that that talked about the day the moon arrived.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
we had this discussion. Go ahead, Jack. Sorry.
I was just saying, in the Sumerian tablets, the moon was actually left by a collision with another planet from Planet X. So, but in my theory, from what I researched, I think that Planet X was destroyed in a war with Mars. So, and that's a whole other show.
Well, I mean, that could also be the asteroid belt.
Yeah, well, that's what happened to it. Yeah, it became the asteroid belt. So, and that comes from a lot of world-class remote viewers who have targeted that whole mystery and phenomenon. But
yep.
Yeah, because that's one of those ones. I mean, like I said, because I know you're like at a hard cap right here. So I want, before we get to too much here, I want to share your site again, so that way people can see it.
Sure. Come by and check us out.
Paraintelligency.com.
I don't post clickbait. The only thing I post is genuine research that goes to the very heart of paranormal activity, and all the latest and the greatest stuff that's actually coming out from the best minds around the world. I coalesce and put into articles, and you can find those articles on my website.
Yeah, the hitchhiker effect is actually a pretty interesting, the hypothesis and stuff that's out there. Just that of how this is just somebody that just comes in contact, basically gets brought into the phenomenon.
Right. Gets sucked into it.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So yeah, do that, and then also you have. Let's see. I'm going to put here. I'm going to share this one here too, so that way.
Jack does like some world-class research. He's one of the best in the fields. That's not blowing smoke. It's the truth.
Thank you.
We talked about this on the last show too. The Enoch Code, and then you also have Bigfoot Unleashed and Paranormal Planet.
Yep.
And if they want, I always do this. And if they want an autographed copy, Jack, how can they go about that?
That's tough to get an autographed copy these days. If you request one on my website, I will send you one for the same price you get on Amazon. So,
and you can also go see him at a conference.
Yes. Are you ever
buy the book? Come meet him at a conference, and if you have a pen handy, he might be able to sign it for you right then and there.
Or buy it at
I will be. Hang on just a second. Sorry about that.
God is calling.
That's another radio show.
They're ready for him. So
right, yep. But I will be appearing at the Kiamishi Mountains Bigfoot Conference May the 5th. So, and that is in Tallahena, Oklahoma. So there you go. It's sponsored by the Bigfoot Museum of Oklahoma. So
awesome.
If anybody's out there that's nearby, come by and see us.
All right, we'll let you go so you can get to your next appointment there, sir.
Yes, sir. Well, thank you.
Well, thanks. Yeah, thanks. So everybody go support them. Go to that paraintelligency.com. I think I said that right.
Yes, sir. We'll give you the applause.
Yep. And then go get the Amazon, check out the books and support them there. So, Jack, thank you again, sir.
Hey, thank you guys. I really appreciate the opportunity to come on.
Hey, well, hey, have a great rest of the evening and good luck with the next show.
All right. Thank you, guys. All right. Blessing.
So, bye, night.
Bye.
All right, everybody. So they said go support him there. And then, Jeremy, we talked about, we talked about the Enoch Code. So that's a really, for anybody that's never read it, pick up the Book of Enoch. It's one of the oldest books that was written. So it's one of those. There's a reason why the church doesn't want it.
Yeah, there are 4 books, but there's one version, the Book of Enoch. Correct me if I'm wrong, Craig, that it comes in all 4. I have a book. I have that book someplace.
Yeah,
I think there are 4 separate books of Enoch. One's called Giants. One's called.
Here, let me get these up. I can grab it here. Hold on a second.
You can put up, something to grab
Just had
it.
to grab it off the shelf. It was on the bottom there. Oh.
Looks like I'm cradling a possum. No, it's a Godzilla shirt. Godzilla.
Yeah, so this is the Gnostic Bible. So this has all.
Oh, you got the good stuff in there. That has everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so this one has it all. So this is
that the reason why you are now called Father Craig?
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, this is the apostate. Yeah, so this has
the apostate doing.
So this one you've got. I like this one. This one talks about all the has all the books. I said I've got several of these ones that have all the books that were banned by the church for heresy and stuff. And there's a real reason why they wanted it taken out.
Oh yeah, there is.
Yeah, because it counters the Trump Bible. That's a whole nother thing. It's like I don't care, and it's one of those. It's not. Don't take this as take it aside of political things. But my God, when you have somebody who lives a lifestyle, does anybody really believe he has a room full of Bibles that he studies? Come on. Come on.
When I heard that, I just thought of what's his name. Like I had to buy that plane from Tyler. He made it so easy for us.
Yeah, I just it's pandering. I can't remember what that Will Ferrell movie was where he played the politician, and he says, he goes, it's a prime example of pandering because he goes to the carnival and he's having a little speech there, and he's talking about how Asian tilt-a-whirl operators are the backbone of this country. We can't do it without the Asian tilt-a-whirl operators. And it's one of those things. Politicians pander. People take it way too seriously. Yep. It's like when people are going on this thing, it's like, guys, he was doing it to try to connect with that group, but no, does anybody seriously believe he has a room full of Bibles that he goes in and he studies all the time? No. He may have a pile that's, the people have got that he's kept him in this room. Yes. But he doesn't have the Bible room that he goes into the mansion, opens it up and studies the scriptures every day. Come on. No.
He does have a family Bible.
Yeah. I'm sure. Yeah. That's like,
but yeah,
I've got tons of religious works down here. I don't study them on a daily basis. It's
so let me
there
ask,
for reference.
On the big hardcover books, do you open them up all the way?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, these ones. Yeah, these. As much as I can. I mean, they're just
right.
But did you notice what's also on this book?
It's
the dust jacket.
It's a dust cover. Yep.
The dust jacket's on here, and there's no creases on the dust jackets.
God, you're so fucking anal. It was so fucking anal.
See? Sorry, there's no creases on the dust jacket either.
Yep.
Yeah. No. That's what I said. There's a lot of stuff. It's like I think coming up. Like I said, we can go here for like at least another half hour. We can talk about these things. It's like some of the current events. Like because last time we talked about this stuff, there's the whole thing. I mean, we already know the nominees. I mean, it's going to be Biden versus Trump again.
Right.
The question is whether or not RFK is going to be the spoiler.
Maybe Biden isn't going to be the guy.
If that's going to happen, they're going to have to pull the trigger soon. Because if they wait much longer, it's going to be because it's getting, as closer you get to the actual convention, it's going to be real hard to just spring a 12th hour, 11th hour candidate, to spring, even if it's because there's talk like Michelle Obama. It's like, if you don't start building the buzz, it's going to be really hard.
So, I don't know if anybody here has ever watched anything from the Future Forecasters group. It's run by Dick Alger, I believe, and they're all remote
Yeah, I can't
viewers, and they do a lot of crypto stuff. Well, they did something for the month of April or coming up, and in there they saw like what looked like an assassination attempt. Somebody from like a popular person, it felt like someone was being assassinated, and and they didn't mention anybody. Most people think of Trump, and trust me, that guy has more assassination attempts that he cares for. People, I like Trump. I don't care about his, tweets and whatever it is, and somebody that can increase my value, and I'm good for him. But they could use that for multiple things. They could use medical excuses to get anybody out. They can, it's been done throughout history. The Archduke of Ferdinand,
Yeah.
that was one. So it's just, I can tell you the people that are in power right now don't want Trump coming in. They don't want him because I think a lot of people are going to jail.
Yeah, I think it's just a lot of people. I think one of the biggest things, the reason why it was such a problem the first time wasn't so much him, is he's a loose cannon. He doesn't follow the program. It's just anybody that's seen, and knows him. It's just, he does what he wants to do. He doesn't care, and it's just, and that was clear because as soon as he was elected, you saw the world plan just take a nosedive. It just like went off the rails. They weren't doing it, and as soon as Biden came back on, we went right back to it. Putin invades Ukraine. We have all this stuff. It went, the chess game was right back in play. It just, because now pieces were going where they needed them to go. It happened. There was a reason why there was that lull. I mean, even North Korea suddenly went quiet, and Trump's going across the border, handshake. There's a reason why this happened, is because he wasn't playing the game, and they didn't know how to do it. That's why everybody was holding back. And as soon as they got the power, if Hillary had been there, the things that are happening now would have happened.
Yeah,
if 5-6 years ago.
Actually, it probably would have been worse. We probably would have had a new world order, and it would be speaking Chinese or Russia,
because he wasn't playing the game, and that's why I said we didn't have any new wars. We didn't have any of this stuff while he was in office because they didn't know how he would play.
It was like, to a certain degree, when Ronald Reagan got into office, and they were like, "This guy will come in and bomb the shit out of us, so we better give these hostages back." And that's
to the point, because I was thinking about that. As you said that, it just made me think about the whole Gaddafi situation. Reagan bombed Libya, with the battleship, parked it off there, and fired shots. So, he may have been following part of the thing, like trying to keep him in check. But the main thing, the reason why Gaddafi was taken out was he was going to break Libya off of the central bank system.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's the whole thing. People talk, it's like Libya was going to become a major economic powerhouse.
Yep.
And the world stage couldn't have that, because you can't, just like anything, as soon as you show that, it is possible to do it without the overlords, that upsets the entire system, and we can't have that. And so that's when the whole, just going to hash the thing, that's when you had the whole Benghazi, you had all that stuff going on. A lot of that stuff was happening at that time because it was, we had to shut them up.
Same thing could be said about about Iraq and Saddam Hussein. Besides him going in and doing whatever he wanted, He was looking to like screw you and your central bank bullshit. We'll do with oil and we don't need you. And like, oh yeah, bye. If you don't
That's right.
pay, you play. But
That's right, King. It's the New World Order he's talking about is not Hogan, Macho Man saying it's a Diesel. He's not talking about that New World Order.
no, brother, when I'm
although
talking
that
about
was
the New World Order, I'm talking about politics. Not
oh, the cream rises to the top. Oh,
a real great.
yeah, not that one.
When they do Randy
Jared,
Savage,
that is exactly what it was.
Yep.
A lot of people don't realize that we were setting the stage for ISIS and the stuff in Syria, and we had to run.
Yeah. Yep, you're right. And you want to know what else was a setup? You're not gonna like it. The Las Vegas thing.
The Las Vegas shooting. Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. That was we did. We did a show on that. I mean, it was one we have to do a. We've always talked about doing an update on that one, which it's for anybody that doesn't remember that thing. How do you have a Vegas casino where anybody that's ever been to Vegas, every square inch of lobbies, elevators, hallways, everything is caught on camera. We don't have a single image that's been released of any of those weapons being taken into the hotel room.
Yep.
We don't have any of this stuff. And supposedly all these things are going on. There's too many inconsistencies. It's like there's too many things that, one guy would not have been able to get off all those shots.
Nope.
Hit some of the targets he hit from that shot. There were some places that took rounds. I mean, Mythbusters even has showed the stuff. Bullets are not going to ignite tanks because it doesn't create. It's not like Hollywood. You don't shoot a gas tank and all of a sudden it explodes. It's like an astronomical, number of the chance of it hitting just right to create enough of a spark to ignite it and burst. There was just too many things that happened that don't work.
And on top of that, there's too many different videos from Joe and Jane Citizen that are capturing that a lot of the rapid fire machine gun fire wasn't coming from up top. It was coming from lower.
Yeah.
There's a guy, I forgot what he was going into the same hotel and he was coming. It's a great video. And if you look at his side mirror, you can see just above him, probably no more than, would be the first, second, third or fourth floor machine gun fire coming out of the window from inside. I mean, like, I know people that know people that were there, got some photos I've seen. It's some crazy shit. It's just, this is the world we live in. Off 9/11. Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean,
we've talked about that. I think for anybody that doesn't know my theory, it's one of those about that, the whole image. I think I've told you this before, haven't I, Brian?
What?
About, because if you remember, everybody was called George W. Bush at the time a moron. Look at this idiot. He doesn't know what he's doing, because the infamous reading the story to the kids in the elementary school. And he has that, everybody pauses, like look at the dumb look on his face. He doesn't know what he's doing when he's told that the towers are falling. I'm like, my thing is that Rumsfeld just announced part of the thing that we're missing trillions of dollars, and they knew this stuff was, the house of cards was starting to come down. They had to figure out how to cover this. So they had to have an event. What's the greatest thing to get the military industrial complex fired up is you got to have a bad guy. You got to have you got to have these things. So I think
you have to have a Pearl Harbor.
Yeah. And nobody's going to do it off of, a boat blows up, you got to have something. You got to have something like for the Spanish-American War. You've got to have the boiler explosion. You got to have something that drives the sentiment. Well, what happened is Osama bin Laden, CIA operative. This is not This is not this is not a conspiracy thing. He was a well-known, the Mujahideen, he was in Afghanistan. He was fighting the proxy war for us versus Russia. That's well-known stuff. This isn't a secret. These and as we always do with these assets, we hang him out to dry. And what he ended up not getting the support he needed, and so now it fosters anger towards the U.S. Well, what do? You allow an incident like 9/11 to occur. So my theory on this is that, I should say hypothesis, is that he was told, we're going to allow this to, what detonate, the towers are coming down. They're going to take these things down. Well, what Bush was told was that it wasn't that the towers were hit. This was known was going to happen. What he was told, in my theory, because you can see it, look at the face. If you think about it now, when you look at his face, it's not a look of disbelief as in, oh my God, the tower's been hit. I think what it was whispered, sir, there's more planes. That Osama bin Laden hijacked more planes than he was supposed to. And so now they had 2 aircraft that weren't accounted for. And so now the decision becomes, oh my God, now we don't know where these are going. And now the reason why flight, forgive me everybody for this, I want to say it's 93 over Pennsylvania. Brains fried. Yeah, that's one. Because when you look at the debris pattern, that was taken
out with the missile.
Yeah, that was blown up. I think the passengers really truly were taking the plane back. They just didn't know that there was F-16s locked and loaded, getting ready to fire. Because because you see these things, these planes come down, they shoot these down. The politicians know we're not, the people that know that they can't go to the American public and say, hey, we've ordered the killing of hundreds of innocent Americans in the air. So this has to come out as, it went through this shutdown, heroes, things go through as they did, but we shot down those planes. A missile was fired at the Pentagon because, let's be honest, anybody seen a plane crash? Those wings are not going through reinforced concrete. And, that's not collapsing in on itself and going perfectly into this hole. There's no debris outside of the Pentagon.
So I beg a little different to your assessment. We needed a way to initiate what they wanted, which was the Patriot Act. We needed our minds off of the fact that we have a reporting out of the Pentagon that we're missing trillions of dollars. And that's the part of the Pentagon that actually had all the records in it.
That was hit by a missile.
Magic. Right. And I think they may have even partially set up these people to do this so they would have a scapegoat. But I think there are other individuals involved, other nations that are currently involved in a conflict right now. And
oh yeah, no, it was because
there was a lot.
No, because it's the thing. It's just, you think about it. It's like a lot of people I don't think a lot of people remember this part because it wasn't really widely reported. Right after the attack, the bin Laden family was allowed to leave.
Yep.
Get on a plane and leave the country. And I'm sorry, if you were, either you or me were involved in a terrorist activity, there's no agency that's going to let our family members get on a plane
Not at all.
and fly out of country.
Nope.
Every single person that would have any idea of why we did it or what we did would be hauled in and interrogated. I mean, it wouldn't happen that way. So it shows that there was definitely some coordinated effort, which that's the thing is the Saudis were rumored to have been behind actually, this as well. And it's always been one of the things that nobody really wants to talk about. It's been that dirty little secret. It's like they're playing both sides. But yeah, it's just that theory of mine. It's always been, that's the only one that for me that really, when you do like the who, what, when, what, that really would make sense of the why do this, is because they had to have the event so that way they could pull off the Patriot Act, fire up the war machine and all, because nobody would have accepted it any other way.
Right. And it's the same thing that took place when Pearl Harbor took place. They knew there were Japanese in Pearl Harbor. And and everybody was like, we don't want to go to World War anymore, blah, blah, blah. They were trying to stay out of it, but they needed a way to get in. and this was a way in if as long as a military target. But the problem is the powers that be now don't use military targets, use civilian targets because they don't give a shit about you. On top of that, you find it interesting that the same day the U.S. is going to default on its first, financial instrument and not be able to pay it. That same day when they were making the announcement at the same time, roughly, we got him. We got Osama. And no, we can't show you the body.
No. And we dumped him overboard.
Yeah, and we dumped him overboard, and I'm like, bullshit.
And there's talk. Have you seen the things where it definitely looks like the face was superimposed upon whoever they had? It was basically a computer generated image.
I got to be honest. I think the likeness between Scottie Pippen and Osama was so close that I think Scottie Pippen was actually Osama.
Oh my god!
Take a look at that. You're gonna look at it now, and you're gonna be like, "Holy shit!"
The thing that I said is that, like with me, both parties are abusing this.
Oh, 100%.
This isn't just a Democratic thing. No, this is everybody. This was. I'm sorry. I don't care. Mitch McConnell is just as dirty as Chuck Schumer. There's no doubt in my mind that because you can see basically for one thing that people really need to understand is like politics. It's a WWE show. They're behind scenes. They've already pre-planned how this is going to. Do you think Hakeem Jeffries for the Democrats in the Congress is any different than somebody on the Republic? No, they all have their agenda. They're going to take the pound of flesh from each other. They're going to go back and forth, and then afterwards they're going to go have cocktails. They're going to go have dinner. They're going to sit down and they're going to talk about, we really got it.
99.9998% of these people in public office, no matter whether the Congress, the Senate, mayor, governor, city, whatever, they're all corrupt. They're all corrupt. They all need to go. They went after you.
They're going. Yeah, they just did that. So, I mean, if for people they say, well, what can we do? You always have this like, well, call your no. How you fix this is on your state level. You guys have got to start doing term limits. You have to do it state by state because nobody's ever going to fire themselves. Nobody's going to vote themselves out of a job. So when you call your congressman, they're not going to vote for term limits. What you have to do is you have to put it into the state level to where, as a state constitution, you have a thing where the state people cannot run after a certain number of time, just like your governor. You have it established for a governor. You can have it for Congress. You can have it for a senator. You can do all these things, but you have to do it on state by state level.
You got to do that, and you also have to take the corporate money out of politics. That's it. That's
the hard part.
I am adamant at getting rid of corporate interest in politics 100%, which is very hard. I think that you should be allowed to only raise no more than, I would go $2 million per state. That's it. Because think of it this way. If everybody raised $1 million per state and everybody had the same amount of money to do their campaign, who are you going to vote for at the end? And it's simple. You vote for the person that has the most money at the end. I mean, of course, they have a better plan and whatever it is, but whoever has the most money knows how to manage their damn money, which means they know how to manage the government's money. And that's how you vote. Everybody's on the same playing field. You don't get a Michael Bloomberg up there who's, a billionaire and he's spending $200 million, like, because he makes that in every freaking half an hour, and it doesn't hit him in the pocket. It's not about being fair. Life's not fair. Suck it up, Buttercup. But it should be limited to $1 million or $2 million per person if you're running. That is it. No matter if it's corporate or not.
I mean, just like when the Patriot Act was, but there's only 3 Republicans that voted no: Robert Ney, Butch Otter, and Ron Paul, Texas. And Russ Feingold and Democrat in the Senate voted no. So it was 98-1, and it said, so this was that everybody was for this. This is not this is,
Of
you know,
course,
and even
because it gives them total control over everybody.
yeah, and that's the thing. It's just it's power corrupts. Yeah, Ron Paul, Ron Paul's a whole nother thing. There's a lot of people that have a misnomer about him. This is a little dirty little secret that people don't really know. Ron Paul masterfully knew how to play the game.
Yep.
I will pretend I'm Ron Paul. What I do is I go through and I make sure there's votes. making sure that Brian's going to vote for this bill to make sure that this bill passes. So now what I do is I make sure that my district is going to get funded through this stuff. Well, so Brian's going to make sure he goes through. He makes sure we have the votes. He's going to vote. Now we go to the vote. Guess what? I vote no. It still passes, but now I can go to the people and say, this has out of control spending. He go through the whole list. That's why I voted no. But guess what? His district is still funded. He gets all this stuff for his district. He gets all these pork projects done. He gets all this stuff, and he still goes and claims that he's against this out of control spending. And that was one of the dirty things about Ron Paul, is just that a lot of people didn't realize he was masterfully at making sure he was funded, but it was like he got to have his cake and eat it too.
You know, life would have been a lot different and better if Ross Perot came into office.
Oh, we would have had pie charts galore.
Well, yeah, it's but it would have been a business perspective.
Oh yeah, we would have had fireside pie chart chats. I want to show you right here on this chart. This is where we are at right now.
Between farting and shitting right over here on this chart, right?
Yeah.
So
he was. I liked him. I just, unfortunately, he was the one that gave us Bill Clinton.
Well, I think what happened is.
But was he Bill Clinton? That's the thing. Yeah, go ahead. But
no, I mean,
who was better? Who was better at that point? George H.W. Bush or Bill Clinton? I mean,
I would have gone with Ross Perot, but
oh yeah, Ross Perot. I think out of the three was the better option.
Is, I think Ross Perot did it to create the conversation that was needed. Like, we need to talk about this more, and it's not one left side of the bird or right side of the bird. And he would have been elected. People were gonna vote for him, and I think the fact that he would have won scared the shit out of him. That wasn't his intention. I mean, he put up a good front, but I think he got scared and like, holy shit, I don't want to do this job, because he knows it's a never-ending job. So,
well, it's going to happen. I mean, I think like kind of like this. So I think, I don't RFK. I don't think he's. I don't think he's got a shot. Even close. Yeah, he's got a few people that that really like him. Some of the stuff, like, I know there's a few people that weren't happy with his VP choice. It's and that turned him off. But it was one of those. The question is, does he pull enough? Because I honestly, I threw this out there. It's like my thoughts were, the main reason he's doing it is I think he does want it, but I think he's giving the big FU to the Democrat Party for their treatment of him. And that's why he's still in it, is because he knows he's going to be able to basically kind of make the point across, but at the same time getting revenge on the people that kind of turn their back on him.
I don't know. I'm just not, his politics just doesn't work for me.
Well, yeah, that's yeah.
He's been really bad on a lot of issues that that's really bad. I mean, it's just what it is. I'm gonna give everybody a homework assignment. I know there are a lot of people that may not like Trump. My daughter used to come home, and the brainwashing of children through public school was immense. And she said, well, Donald Trump hasn't done anything for anybody. And I'm like, oh, really? And I was even surprised. And I gave her a list. It was huge of what he's done in office, most of which in the first 30 days of office. And you look at what this man has done, primarily for the people that never get anything. Black America, minority America, Hispanic America, people that don't even have high school education, single woman, single parent. Just look what the man's done. And you know what? If they didn't have this attack on him and actually gave him some support, you'd be surprised. I mean, this man, the stuff he's done will blow you away. And it's all good. It's great. And you just gotta, so he says stupid things. He posts, upsetting things. Makes fun of Indian people.
Oh, he does. He doesn't have a filter, and that's one of the things. It's like for the stuff that he's pulled off, it's kind of still amazing just how inarticulate he is at times. It's like he has the things, but there's just times where it's like you look at it and you're like look what he said. I'm like, I know. You got to understand the point he's making. The way he phrases it is always the problem. It's like he needs to. That's where it gets him. It's just he never phrases it just right. It's kind of like it's like the whole all Mexicans are rapists and criminals. It's like that's not what he said. That's not what that statement was saying. That's what it came out across. But it was just the problem was he wasn't saying all were. He was saying that the people that are trying to sneak into the country, they said they're coming over, they're rapists, they're criminals. I'm like, you got to understand, this is how Trump says these things. It's like it's.
But and you got to understand also that the mainstream media was like totally all against him. And
and that's what they're looking for. They're looking for. He's one of those where it would be in his best interest to honestly have some really good, like, public relations people that would help him word things. It would save him so many headaches.
His family,
they'd be able to.
There are a lot, and they're like, don't post that. Do not post that.
Yeah.
And and he's like, well, fuck it, I'm gonna do it anyhow.
I know, 2 a.m.
Yeah.
he says something, and like the press, the people, his, all of his campaign people are all like, waking up. What are you doing? You're killing me, Don. You're killing me. You are killing me.
It's like what I sent you guys over on our chat. It was a picture of Trump, and on the top it says, "I'm going to deport all the illegal aliens," and at the bottom it says, "Every last one." Yeah.
It's like, yeah. Can you imagine if that was real?
Yeah. You're looking at this, you're going, "Oh, it's funny," but
no, that's just stuff. It just he says a lot of things. He says it just in the heat of the moment. He says these things, and it's like if you just take that one to breathe. Yeah. King's. It's right. It's like if you actually look, a lot of the stuff that he did say, this will happen, has come to pass. I mean, he said it's, unfortunately, it's not really, some of it's not hard to predict. Like I've been saying for years that, the time's up. We're already past the point of return on the debt. And there's people right now that are talking. It's like I think they're saying now by 2034 that we're potentially going to be at 119% of debt to GDP, which is, as I said, you're at that point, there's no coming back from that. You can't.
Please, we have theater tickets.
yeah. There's right now where I think we're at 97%, which we're right at the point of you're spending as much as you're bringing in. Which is not going to be survivable.
And there's ways to restructure the debt, believe it or not. There really are ways to restructure it over time, and it's just
at this point it's default.
At this point it's conflict and win.
Yeah, because it's like I think unfunded liabilities. I think we're approaching 350 trillion. Is what we're on the hook for, and
the jig is over. The jig is up. The jig is over.
Yeah, that's I said that there's no, people that talk about, it's like, well, what about this? What about this program? You don't understand. I mean, this is like you personally, somebody getting mad at you because you're not giving $10,000 a month to a charity. You don't have the money. And that's one of the things. It's like people understand. It's like the government's like, well, we got to do this and this. They're borrowing money to give it out. I go, if you're taking money and you're just giving it out, yeah, you're doing charity, but guess what? That's not your money. You're going around, you're taking it from everybody else and giving it away. Yeah, you seem charitable. You're doing this great thing, but guess what? You're getting ready to collapse. Then that money is going to. Some people are counting. Everything is just going to go you're going to watch like a stadium implosion. Boom, boom, and
you're you're going to see a civil war, and then that will beget either a revolution.
if Biden wins, my
This
prediction is if he wins, he will medically ride off in the sunset later that following year.
I predict everybody trying to rig this election one more time. Like I mean, I work in data, and I know that I saw what everything was. If anything stops counting, it's rigged. Anything. And I don't think the people that have been on the right side of the planet, those call them Republicans or the people, whatever, they're not going to sit idly by anymore. When they try to screw this over and steal this election one more time, the war is going to take place.
Yeah. It's one of the biggest things
and
for
WrestleMania.
I've been. It's kind of a two thing. It's like it's a scary thing, but in the same way, we already have it with Social Security numbers. I honestly think there needs to be like a national ID card that you can use for anywhere. So like if you're on vacation, so like say you're if you're registered to vote down here in Florida, and you go up to New York, you basically can go to a machine, scan your card, and it brings up the Florida elections, and then you can vote for it where you're registered. So because we've got to get away from this absentee ballots, and we got to get away from this thing because
It's really simple.
Yeah.
It's called your passport.
Yeah, something like that's why I said you have
everybody should be required, if as a U.S. citizen, you require them to get a passport, and the passport has to. You don't have to go travel. You should be required. That's your official. Your passport is the official, ID, and you slide it into a machine.
Yep.
It registers. It says, "Okay, you are who you are," and you select who you select. They print it out, and then you see it like, yes, you confirm it and go. And yes, you're right. We can go to you can go to the post office and have a postal machine there that once you put it in, it automatically knows that you're from Florida. It pulls up the Florida ballot. You get the vote and you move on.
Because right now we've got, people say, oh, there's no fraud. I'm sorry, when you're getting, like if you've been from both, when you're getting a New York ballot sent to you and a Florida ballot, there's a problem. There's already a problem here, because now technically Brian can vote in two locations. He could file as an absentee ballot in New York or Florida, and like I said, and those two are not verifying with each other, and so you could file multiple.
I'll tell you what's really screwed up. So 2 years ago, before I was a Florida resident, I was up in New York. My mother and father my father was dead for almost a year. His name was still in the book as registered voter. My mother's name, who had been dead longer than that, was in the book as a registered voter.
How many times did they vote?
I don't know. Because you can't get an answer out of anybody in the state. It's so corrupt in New York. And that's why I'm telling you, there's so much corruption and shady crap. And look, I come from immigrants that came here wanting to be Americans, not on the system, whatever. There's a lot of us have. And I'm not saying everybody that's sneaking into the country is a bad person, but we should not be rewarding these people for going in and breaking into the country.
Well, they shouldn't be allowed to, if anything, there should not even be able to, cast a vote. I mean, that's what I said. You're not even a citizen. It's like, come on.
But this is and this is happening in, and I'm going to say the word, Democratic run areas. They allow people who are legal aliens here or non-citizens to get driver's licenses. What is connected to the driver's license registration? Voter. Yep. And they even admitted there was 80,000 plus people in California during the last election that were put onto the voting records.
Well, that's what they say, because whenever
Oops,
you
we
hear
had
them,
an accident. No, you didn't
yeah,
have an
whenever you hear them,
purpose.
whenever you hear them say that there's no voter fraud. Well, this is one of the dirty things that a lot of people don't understand. What they tell you is it's like a partial truth. Yes, there was no voter fraud. Brian's deceased grandpa cast a ballot. That ID cast a ballot. There was no fraud. There was nobody. Like I said, there wasn't 14 times that it cast. But the problem is, the person's dead and cast a ballot. That's fraud.
Or if
Who cast the ballot?
Kramer says I catch him a lot more on Instahore instead of Edward's house.
At first, I thought you were doing Seinfeld here, but it's
No, Instahore, not that Seinfeld. And he's gone around and he's gotten the donation records for the Democratic Party, and there are people in there, and they have like 700 donations, and they spent almost like $300,000 donating to the Democratic Party. So they're going and say, "Did you vote? Did you give donations to the Democratic Party?" Yes, I did. According to this, how they said that you've donated a total of $75,000 last year to and these people like I didn't vote. I would never donate $75,000. So somebody has gotten the records and is putting donations in people's name that never made the donation.
Yeah, they're doing like, I can't remember what the maximum is for a normal person. For a regular person.
I forgot what it is, but it's like, I mean,
I want to say it's somewhere around like, yeah, it's like some. It's not terrible. It's just exactly what you said. It's like they're taking roles and then they're using it, like George Soros is bundling. You have these bundlers, so these ones that come in, they'll take. George Soros wants to give $15 million to the Democrat Party. Well, he can't just personally write a check for $15 million. He has to do these bundlers. Like you said, you find these roles of 10,000 people, and you put this $7,500 per person total as these bundles, and now you have these millions and millions of dollars donations going to these campaigns, which is now legal.
But that's the point, and this is where,
and that's fraud, but it's not. It's
most Americans.
It's white fraud. White, not as in like colors. It's a little white lie, not a.
Let me tell you something. People are done. They're done with the corruption. We're paying for everything. We're getting screwed on everything, and we're done. And I know, I know some people personally. They're waiting to with their rifle. Like, are we there yet? We going? Going now?
Derek, I don't know. I don't know if I would say that one was a stolen one. That one was just. I think that came down to,
that's the Chad one.
Yeah, Florida changed the way they did elections after that. Where most people in the country need to really follow how Florida does their election, because not too long after the polls close, who's winning in Florida. There's not a big mystery.
I get to vote for my first time now.
Yeah,
I'll vote for president, I believe.
I think, like I said, that one just showed a lot of fallacies. I mean, that's when I started really trying to explain. There's a lot of people that after that election, they started really on the electoral college is bad. And I've had this discussion with people. It's like, you don't understand what an amazing system the electoral college is.
Yep.
This is one of the worst things to do, is to get rid of this, because this gives Wyoming, Idaho, North and South Dakota, this gives you guys an actual voice in the system. If you were to the electoral college actually needs to be taken to the state and county levels, because this gives people voices that wouldn't normally get it. Because right now, like here, Florida, Tallahassee, Orlando, Miami, Jacksonville, Tampa Bay, these ones are like the major population centers. If we just took them, this would be a blue state. But because it's the totality of everything. There's more in the rural that actually vote, so it actually counteracts those things. Well, the Electoral College does the same thing, is it brings in these voices, because politicians would never leave. They'd go to California, New York, Pennsylvania, Massachusetts, Florida. That's all they would. That's all they would
It's
do.
not all in New York. And let me tell you something, 99% of New York State, it's a big state, votes
Is red.
red.
Mhm. It's New York City and
It's the
Buffalo.
bullshit in New York and some of the smaller, like congested little towns.
Albany, Buffalo. I think it's Albany, Buffalo, and New York City are the three major.
Well, there's more in
blue.
them, but what's happening now is, and I'm going to say it, the people, you call them minorities if you want. By the way, folks, if you're white, you're a minority in this country now, which is fine. It has nothing to do with white, black. We should all be working together. But the bottom line is, somebody named Trump, and people are waking up of color saying, you know what? He's done a lot for us. He's telling you, he's helping you, and he's winning over what would be classified as the minority vote. And a lot of Black America is voting for him, and they're gonna vote for him now. They're totally, because people are waking up and realizing the Democrats use this all the time. We vote them in, and we get nothing. And now they're changing their vote. And if that happens, then you're going to see all those big blue states go blood red. Because if they flip, it's over. I really do think this election, the entire country is going to look blood red. And with little dots here and there are blue.
But yeah, that's the thing, because if you think, like I said, back to that, like the Electoral College thing, New York City dictates what the entire state does.
Yep.
And the problem with that is, like, because a lot of people that, and this is educational, is to blame for this too. They say, well, why wouldn't
Craig, will this be on the final?
Yes.
This will be on the final. Okay.
Yeah. So why don't we take the voice of 20 million people as how the state should go? Well, the fact is, somebody living in Upper Manhattan could give two shits what a dairy farmer in Upper New York care, what they care about. They don't care about property rights. They don't care about, these grazing lands. They don't care about these restrictions. All they know is they know of the city. That's all they care about. Well, the problem is that city, everybody that's out in the woods, all these things, they don't care about these things. But the problem is that location controls it all. And that's what happens in these scenarios, where if you were to give to where, regardless of in the statewise, to where New York City would get a vote as opposed to all the other counties, then you would see a completely different change in politics in these states.
There are people that have been talking about it for a while, and I believe they're going to, in New York State, will eventually be broken into a minimum of 3 different areas, 3 different states. There's going to be Western New York, there'll be Middle New York, and then it'll be from like Eastern New York, and then New York City, which will encompass Westchester.
And that's the thing, is and just like we said, the reason for that is because there's this disenfranchisement, is where people are like, where if you were to actually adopt like an Electoral College style thing, these people would suddenly feel refranchised. They would actually feel like, now I have a voice in this, because now
people in power won't allow that, because they lose their power.
That's what it is. And it's if it would break, but that's why they want to get rid of the Electoral College for the national one. Like, people say all the time, well, they didn't win the popular vote. Popular vote does not matter. I go, because right now it's Joe Biden versus Trump. Joe Biden is winning LA, New York, Chicago. He's winning, Miami. He's winning all these major cities. So right there, we've already got what I've already just named off 50 close to 60 million votes from these major locations. It's from all these major cities. That's not a representation of the country. That's major city locations. That has nothing to do with ranchers in Texas.
And this is
orange growers in Florida, tree
right.
farmers in Oregon. It doesn't represent them.
And exactly, this is the exact reason why that trust me, when they manipulate this vote, and they're going to try to do the same thing, that's going to be the last straw for Texas. And once Texas goes, just go to the right, all of them, all the way to Florida. And I think you're going to get states by the Mississippi going up too. It's going to be basically the dirty South, the same thing you saw during the first Civil War, but just add on a couple other states that weren't there, that go along the Mississippi to get the route. And that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, I saw that A24, that Civil War thing. They showed like the sections. I go, the biggest thing I had to disagree with, there's no way Texas and California would ever align. There's nothing.
No. Texas, it's going to be from Texas to the right. They don't want California.
Oh no! I was saying that show. They showed that's how they broke it up. They showed like how they broke up the regions. I was laughing when I saw that. I'm like, dude, there's absolutely nothing California and Texas would have in agreement at all. I go, there'd be no way that these two would be aligned.
Right. If the way I would see it, because I go to Gettysburg every year for the Gettysburg Battlefield Bash. Come down and they raise money for Gold Star families and Blue Stars and people that are in desperate need, like maybe wheelchairs and kids that are really sick and dying. It's July 26th, 27th, 28th at Gettysburg. Please come down to that. But when you go to the rotunda at Gettysburg, and it's a 360-degree, they talk about how the war started. And then they have this movie narrated by what's his name? Oh God, Morgan Freeman. And they tell you how it starts. You see the map and see it like Texas, and then it goes with Alabama, Louisiana, boom, 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 all the way to the right. And you see how that starts. I'm telling you, you're going to see from Texas, it's going to be the South again, like it was the Civil War. It's going to go up to a little bit on the right, but in that middle zone, right above Texas, on the left of Mississippi, it's going to go all the way up. So you're going to have this big, cutout. And that's going to be I don't think it's going to be called the Confederate States. It'll be the Southern States of Southern States of America. It's going to be its own country. And let me tell you something. Since Wall Street has moved to Florida completely, okay, if you get Texas and just Florida together, that's where most bulk of your money's coming from. That's it.
Yeah, this one's this is another one. I think the one I must have seen was somebody else, like a fan one, because this comes from
I agree with you, but he just sells out them because he's more of a Nazi than that. He doesn't believe in the religion. So, and it's the same thing that's going on in Ukraine. That's what they said from Ace. No, never happened. California, no.
California would join. Seattle, Oregon would most likely go with California in this thing because they're all.
Here's where I see it.
It would divide at the Cascades right here in the center.
Okay, so it says the Florida Alliance, which is really interesting. It seems like Texas, look, we like you guys, but we don't want the freaks between Florida and Texas. That's the dirty South. It's a little bit sketchy, but these loyalist states, they won't be there. That's going to continue on that from the blue Second Republic of Texas all the way over to Florida, and you keep going up. And I mean, most of the left where it says loyalists in that's going to be the same color as Texas. It's all going to be, and so is Florida. Yeah, that's what's going to happen. I'm telling you, all you're going to get is you'll get a spot over by the New York metro area, which is bullshit now because all the money went down south. You'll get the Chicago area and Detroit, and then you'll get that Republic of California, my ass. When is this movie coming out, or is it out already?
I think it's already out, but the Republic of California, because that's actually what it is already. It says on their flag, Republic of California.
It is a Republic of California. I understand that.
They would break off by the. Yeah, I said I could see that, but I'd see.
But
I would see the western half of Seattle, of Washington and Oregon going with them.
I could see north. I mean, the whole Midwest would be, if we want to color
Yeah.
it, red versus blue, and Texas was red. All of Texas straight up, just keep going straight up to the border, and then it cut over to the right. And I'm going to even throw another one at you. This is going to blow your mind, but I believe that not only will we have that type of action, but I believe it will also go over the border into Canada. I believe there's going to be some land in Canada that will join us, and it will be a lot of it. Because it's the same situation in Canada. If you're in, that's such a bad situation right now. I don't even want to go into it, but
Canada?
Yeah. Oh, Canada. And there's a lot of people in there that would join us in a heartbeat. But we're at that 9:59 mark.
Yep.
Yes. Civil War. That's right.
But let's be honest. This is how the real Civil War would lay itself out. Okay.
I'm joining Waffle House immediately. You have no idea.
I'm not quite. See, the part I don't agree with is the tip of Florida over here. This is what do you mean? This whole Miami area would not go with Waffle House?
Let me tell you something. Waffle House is worth dying for. IHOP is crap. Once they stop calling themselves the International House of Pancakes and putting 47 different flavored freaking syrup on your table, it's over. You're done. You could eat at Waffle House breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It's great. The people are great. Sometimes they put on a show there. I'm just going to say it, like Cops. I arrange every bit of my travel about staying at near a Waffle House that is walkable.
Yeah, see, this map's not correct. They did a really bad job on here, because even in Central Florida, there's Waffle Houses everywhere.
Let me tell you something. If you push it on that map, it looks like Virginia doesn't have. Dude, I ate in Virginia.
There's like part of Virginia that doesn't have it, and there's like some weird it sent off a solar flare over into the panhandle of Oklahoma.
No, I'm telling you. Oh my God, Waffle House is so good. It really is. I mean, oh my God. I remember. I don't know. I went to Ocala last summer to go to the Bigfoot, Florida, Bigfoot conference, and I was like, I got to the hotel, and I'm like, okay, where am I going to eat? It's been a long trip, and I'm like, oh God, Chick-fil-A's line is out the block, and I'm like, holy shit, this Waffle House. Went down to Waffle House, got a nice burger melt, patty melt with bacon. And they told them to make me put a fried egg on it. Then I ordered the scrambled eggs, extra bacon, and the fry. Oh my God, it was so good. It was so freaking good.
Yeah, no, well, like I said, we've made, we ended up doing an hour on this.
Yep. Well, for my last words, there we go.
Yeah, no, it's going to be definitely going to be interesting. Like I said, there's coming up on.
I was thinking Chris was going to come on this episode because of all the stuff he was posting in our chat.
I know, I thought so too, but no.
I mean, oh my God, he's coming in.
But
whatever.
No, everybody. That's just said. Like I said, appreciate everybody tuning in. Like I said, make sure, like I said, you go support Earth Radio. Yeah, Ron, his comments right there. I said you can listen to this again next Wednesday at 11 o'clock, unless he plays this tonight at 11 o'clock here in an hour.
Yep, gotta find out from Ron.
Yeah,
so thought I was gonna actually be interviewed on a show one time. He never gave me an interview. Always a bridesmaid, never a bride. Ron,
hear that? Yep, hear that, Ron? You got to get him on.
You should have both of it. You should have. I don't know. I don't want to volunteer Craig for another thing, but we should go on. We should go on the Earth Radio and talk.
Well, he's been asked a couple times. Like I said, just like for me, it's just been one of those things where I've had no time.
I know. You know, you have your wife's murder plan, gilded a frame for it. You're swamped.
He says, "Yeah, we played last week." So there you go. So Ron, you'll have to get him on.
So
But-
I have to listen to that other episode to see what I exactly said, just the kicks
Yeah.
and giggles. But I think after the 15th, can we revisit it?
Yeah, definitely on the 24th.
Yeah. Well, we'll do that too.
Wait, who's Ert Radio? That's Ron Tolvari. It's his internet radio thing. He rebroadcasts our show
Overall,
into the outer
100,000
realms, which I moonlight on.
Yes.
And
Over
he's
100,000 listeners, right? 100. What are you? 125, 150,000 now?
yeah, I'm not sure what number he's up to. I think last time I want to say it was somewhere around the 120,000 listens.
There you go.
And so you just listen. You can re-listen to this show. Yeah, you should be through Facebook. It's Ron. Yeah. So yeah, that's. But
I'm on Facebook, even though I'm in Facebook jail for a little
Yep.
bit.
so if he's a little silent, it's because he got his pee-pee slapped again.
Yes,
He
they
keeps
can go
keeps trying to.
themselves.
So. All right.
All right,
Well,
brothers.
everybody, take care. We will see you next week on. We're got Jim Willis coming on. That's going to be fun. He's been on a couple times. He's coming on to talk about his latest book, so we'll have him on. And then on the 17th, we're going to have Maria on and get him to talk about Stonehenge, the latest thing at the Stonehenge, and why Crown.
Going to come on to talk about Stonehenge. Okay.
Yeah, to see why the Crown doesn't want her information out there anymore. Why she was taken out, not allowed to sell her books anymore. So what does she know that they don't want to come out? So
Stonehenge.
yep.
Get
And
your
then
ass-
24th is going to be a big show.
Big show.
Big show. So
Really big shoe.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. So everybody, thank you for watching. Appreciate it. And I'm going to be nice, really nice to Brian tonight. And we're going to.
Just give it to me. The one that it's like spikes going in your brain.
Oh, absolutely not. Here we go. Because it's in honor of the shirt he's wearing. So everybody, have a good night. We will see you later.
Oh.